Welcome to Moa TV. So I come upon this video on TikTok. I think her name on TikTok is Financial Baddie. She got married at 28, and then a year right after that, she got divorced, which I feel like that was a good video to kind of react to. Very interesting. And probably at my end, I will also just add my 2 cent to it. But let's watch it and let me know what you guys think. And you guys make your input behind or your comments or what are your thoughts on it. Okay, so let's go.
To explain to you why I'm getting a divorce because over 10 million of you guys watched me get married last year across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and a lot other wedding content that I put out. I'm a lifestyle creator, and so you're gonna see my life, the ups, the downs, all of it. It is just a part of the process. But the reason why I do want to share why I'm getting divorced is because I got married to a narcissist unknowingly, and it was all built upon a lie. And I started talking about this on Threads and on my Twitter account, and I shared some of that to my Instagram stories. And since sharing that, I've gotten hundreds of DMs from women who are in the same situation or who have been in that situation. And so many of them have told me, I'm so grateful that you've been talking about this and that you've been transparent about this because I didn't have the strength to leave. Now that I'm seeing that you are leaving so soon as well, I'm now inspired to leave. I do want to talk about this specifically when it comes to the narcissistic abuse part because you don't even realize it's happening to you while it's happening to you. For so many of us, we just didn't even know what was happening while it was happening. I'm going to share as much as I can. And I think it's also important for us to remember that there's a difference between narcissistic personality disorder and having narcissistic traits.
I'm glad she was able to make that clarification because I feel like that word is so misused, especially someone who works like I work in the mental health field. I'm glad she was able to make those two distinction and to clarify that because there's actually a disorder somebody can be and things like that. So she did a good job there. Okay, let's continue.
Okay, those are two different things. So let's start from the beginning. So in 2020, I met my husband on Hinge, and I was living in New York City at the time, and I was working from home. I was working on Wall Street,
Why is everybody meeting their husband on Hinge? Okay, I'm sorry, I won't interrupt again. Let's just watch it.
and I was pretty isolated. Here comes my husband on Hinge, and he looks great, and he seems like a pretty decent guy, and he really sold himself as like this faith-based guy and like really serious with like really good intentions, and I bought it. Now he was going to be starting a job on Wall Street as well at a different firm, and I like the fact that he was already in the industry, so he understood my work schedule because I really did have a demanding schedule. Again, very normal guy, seemingly decent guy. The relationship is good to start. Towards the end of 2020, I started to pick up on the fact that our values weren't really aligned, and especially when it came to faith, there were some things that weren't adding up, right? So I did let him know that, hey, I think we should break up. I think we should part ways because, we're just not aligned. Now, he accepted it at first, but then he kept trying to message me and get back with me and saying, I really don't understand. I really miss us and all of that. And then he starts to mention the fact that there's a ring fund because, he sees me as his future wife that he's already gained 14% on. And I remember saying to him, like, I'm sorry, what does that have to do with anything? And so that is an example of, I think it's called love bombing. I am somebody who had a narcissistic parent. So I grew up on gaslighting. I grew up on manipulation. I grew up on love bombing. So that feels familiar to me. I didn't really have the language for what exactly my soon to be ex husband was doing at the time. But now that I do have the language for it, I see it for what it was, right? If you have broken up with somebody, they seemingly accept it, but then they're coming back and they're like, okay, but I have 14% on a ring fund, right? They're trying to like lure you back in, right? They're trying to talk about all these things that they do for you or what they're doing for you to try to lure you back in. Now, I was resistant to his efforts. At the beginning of 2021, I do start a new job, and that job is actually at the firm that he's working at in a different capacity, but we've been broken up. We're still cordial. Now, he's still trying to get back with me. He's inserting himself in a way that's friendly, but like also clearly like he regrets that, we parted ways. Again, I'm focusing on my new job. I'm just focusing on like getting my life together. He does become a source of support for me as I'm in this new job because he's already familiar with this firm. He knows how to support people, and like he really is just a great friend to have. My birthday's in July.
Well, that's another problem too. I think you also, like, the part that she played in it, again, trying to be friends with him. If you were somebody that you actually like, no, I don't want, especially his intentions was not to become friends, his intention was to actually be again with you. I don't think you should have entertained any friendship with him, knowing that his own intentions is to get back together with you. I think to protect yourself in the first place, you shouldn't have entertained any friendship from him. Okay, let's continue.
And yes, we're friends, we're not together, but he totally inserted himself into my birthday in a way that was like, I'm her man, got me a cake and everything. And like, I appreciated all of those efforts because at the end of the day, like, it's great to have somebody who is looking out for you and all those things.
Okay, well, it looks like you were giving him mixed signal. I think that's your part too, that you could hold yourself accountable for, because to him you're accepting all these things that he was doing for you, even though, like you said, you didn't want to be back with him, but you accepting all these gestures that he was doing towards you. Well, he kind of thought that, hey, okay, so that's your part. I say probably you can hold yourself accountable.
But again, I wasn't cognizant of the fact that like boundaries were not in place, right? And this is something that you have to be very aware of as a young woman when you're dealing with these men. Like, if you have broken up with somebody, right, there is no reason why they should still be coming around in that capacity. And if they keep coming around under the guise of friendship, right, because they love and care about you deeply as a friend, you need to be very careful. Because I was very convinced that, okay, he keeps showing up and he's just around because like, he just cares deeply about me and he just wants to be the person that's there for me. Now, despite the fact that we're broken up, anybody who has shown any kind of interest in me, anyone who he knows is interested in me, he's creating obstacles for these people. He would want to spend like every waking moment of the weekend with me, and I just had zero space. This is another sign that you are dealing with a narcissist. They do not give you any space. Keep in mind, the job that I had at this time on Wall Street, I was working at the desk from 6:30 a.m. until roughly about like 6:30 p.m., right? So I'm 12 hours on the desk, Monday to Friday, and every waking minute of the weekend, he would want to spend time with me. I don't really like people like that. I like my space. I do believe that I am an introvert, and I really do need to recharge, especially when I'm in an office setting and when I'm around people for so long. Like, I need like to decompress, right? I'm blessed now that I work from home and I don't need to like recharge as much, but I really needed my space. Now it is fall of 2021, and he is really lobbying, really pushing that we get back together. And he's even convinced another one of my friends that he really loves me, he really sees a future with me, and, for me to give him a chance. He's very, very, very convincing. Like, this man, he could sell you anything. He is really good. He puts on a great show. And even my friend is like, wow, like, I don't know any guy who's ever loved you this much. Like, this man he is so committed. And I'm like, yep, that is true. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give him a chance. We did get back together. Because I went to work, I went home, I went to the gym, And I was just like focused on myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just where my head was at. Now, by December of 2021, he starts applying to some jobs in Florida because he says he wants to move back to Florida potentially. By January of 2022, he gets a job offer in Florida, and he also does get another job offer in New York, which, in my opinion, was more aligned with what he wanted to do career wise, but he decides that he's going to take the job in Florida. Now, he's trying to say to me, you know, am I coming with him to Florida? I'm like, absolutely not. I have my career here. At the time, I knew no one in Florida. No, I'm not going with you to Florida. And I had broken up with him because I was like, I'm not doing a long distance relationship. I just don't want that for myself. Now, after we got married, I found out that he actually told his coworkers and others, his friends and stuff, that the breakup was mutual when it wasn't, right? Because he was crying these crocodile tears, these fake tears. In retrospect, they were fake tears. They were narcissist tears. When I told him that, look, I'm not moving to Florida with you. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not doing long distance. I have my career here. It is what it is. I think it was early February that he moved to Florida. Valentine's Day comes around 2022. Now, I think I'd gone out.
It also looks like she was actually communicating with him, but also really not having any boundaries with him, or not being firm, or probably just using assertive communication with him. So it looks like she was expressing some of those things, but I don't think, again, that she was being firm with her decision when it comes to him.
And I posted up like, you know, just in a cute dress or whatever. Who's calling my phone to find out if somebody took me out for Valentine's Day? My soon to be ex husband. Mind you, I'm single, right? What did you think was going to happen? Do you not think there is a line of men waiting to take me out? You're single. I'm single. It's none of your business. Why should I spend Valentine's Day alone? Right? Like, you decided to move to Florida. I am living in New York. I'm going to enjoy myself. You know what I'm saying? I tell him, look, you need to calm down and you need to focus on your life in Florida. There are a lot of baddies in Florida, right? Focus on the baddies in Florida. Let me live my life, right? Period. He's upset. He's not happy with it. It is what it is. Now, we didn't really talk for a while. I want to say like maybe about a month and a half, because I kind of cursed him out and I was like, look, you need to stop calling my phone. You need to leave me alone, like boundaries. He starts to weasel his way back in after a couple months of 2022 from the friendship angle. I started to post on TikTok in May. My first video that went viral on TikTok happened in the end of May. And in June of 2022, an anonymous account is created on Twitter. It has no posts. I'm still friendly with my soon-to-be ex-husband, right? He's still a friend to me, and that's that.
See, that was the problem from there, being friendly. I think he also kind of show you consistency of his behavior. But again, I'm glad now, 2020 hindsight, you kind of knew that was not the kind of relationship that you should have with him, because for those type of people, if you're done with them, be done. Don't entertain any friendship, especially if they can't even respect some of the things, but you still kept entertaining him in some kind of way. So to him, you were sending also mixed signal that, oh, okay, well, maybe she's interested. If I do this, if I do that, okay, she's gonna change her mind.
Single in 2022. I'm focusing on myself. In August of 2022, I'm told by my boss that I'm being put up for early promotion. My soon-to-be ex-husband, at the time, I considered him to be one of my best friends because he always positioned himself to be like this source of support for me and just somebody who really loved me like unconditionally. Now, he was one of the two people that I let know that I was being put up for early promotion. Unbeknownst to me at the time, that same week, that anonymous Twitter account made some tweets using screenshots from my TikTok account, tweeting my firm and FINRA. Now, FINRA is the regulatory body that oversees broker dealers, etc. Again, there are two people that I told that I was up for early promotion. He's the only one who would have known to tag FINRA in those tweets. in an attempt to bring me down or to get me fired or
Hmm.
to mess up my chances of getting promoted. I don't find out about these tweets because I wasn't even tagged and I wasn't really on Twitter like that. I was called into the office by compliance at my job and they were telling me that, hey, there's this FINRA investigation going on because this random Twitter account made these tweets referencing your content, and they tagged the firm and they tagged FINRA. They just told me, hey, just keep an eye out, let us know if you have any idea who it could be. And they told me that they'd be doing their own kind of investigation as well. I remember my boss saying to me, go look into that, go figure out like what's going on there. And I just thought, okay, maybe it's just like some random hater. I just had no idea who could be behind this kind of account. Now, if I'm experiencing a certain type of harassment on the internet, I do loop in my lawyer just to get an assessment of like, what do you think this is? And I remember my lawyer saying to me upon reviewing the Twitter account and reviewing the tweet, he said, honestly, Christine, we've seen this before many times. This account was created
This dude was on a mission. It's crazy. That's scary, though. I'm glad she found it. That's scary.
specifically to try to bring you down. These tweets are laced with jealousy. This is a classic case of jealousy. And he actually asked me, did you get put up for promotion or something? Did you get a promotion? Because I've seen this a lot before and it's clearly laced with jealousy. And he said, is there anyone you can think of who would be jealous about you getting a promotion? And I said, well, I only told 2 people. And those people, in my mind, I was like, they would never be jealous of me. Plus, only one of those people would have known to tag my firm and to tag FINRA. And I remember asking my soon-to-be ex-husband, I was like, hey, did you tell anybody else? But he was so supportive. He was just like, oh my gosh, the fact that somebody would even do that to you, they're such a hater. You guys, this man was like praying with me. He was like, I want to pray with you against like the attacks of the enemy. It's not funny. Nothing about this is funny, by the way, but it's like, at this point, all I can do is laugh, right? Because I was so convinced that this man was for me, right? He was praying with me, right? Now I know that he was behind that account. He didn't want me to get that early promotion.
Yeah, she gave him way too much layaway back into. I know, like she was saying, for her, she was just thinking, oh, he's a friend, but knowing that he still liked you as if you guys were in a relationship, you could have just cut it off. You gave him to a lot of ammunition to use against you. And I know probably that those were not your intentions, but based on how you're explaining, um, yeah.
Because he knew that if I got promoted, there's no way I would be moving to Florida with him. And he had to figure out a way to get me to move to Florida because he just had to have me. Here this man is praying with me, being like, I just don't know why anybody would try to do that to you. And like, you just have all these haters now and whatnot. And he created this account in June of 2022 when he saw that like, okay, like her TikTok is growing. More people are going to find her. So I got to make sure by any means necessary that she doesn't find somebody better. He's telling me that, you know what, you're on the internet, you're on TikTok now, people can find your TikTok, so it's just probably somebody who hates on you. You've always had haters. It could be anybody. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right. It really could be anybody at the end of the day. Now, nothing came from that investigation. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get fired. But did those tweets mess up my chances for early promotion? Absolutely. So he was successful in his attempts. One thing that I did find out from my firm from this investigation process was that they had reason to believe that the person behind this account people on Wall Street and in corporate America who were just not willing to stand up for themselves. But here I am putting in the good fight. Now, at the time, I did go to spend some time in LA because I'm just actually mentally drained. And it was good because I think it was like a different type of isolation. But at the same time, my soon-to-be ex-husband used this opportunity to really weasel himself back in as a source of support for me. He would fly in from Florida, spend some weekends in LA with
Again, he wasn't just weaseling his way in. You gave him room to kind of weasel back in based off the clothes that you kind of still share with him, even though, like you said, it was just for you, it was just a friendship, but you gave him a lot of room for him to keep weaseling his way back into.
me. He was really just like this great source of support for me and convinced me to get back together with him. And I was like, honestly, like, he gets it. He understands what I'm going through, you know. And at this point, this man knows me well. He knows my family dynamics. He knows my triggers. He knows a lot about me, right? So he knows exactly what to say to get back in my life. Now he starts talking about getting a ring and getting engaged somewhere around, I want to say May or June of 2023. Truth be told, I should not have gotten engaged in the mental state that I was in 2023, because I was so drained by this battle. I was so exhausted for having to fight for what was clearly like standard. Like the fact that I'm fighting for equal pay for Black people in 2023, it was just mind-boggling. You know what I'm saying? And just the back and forth with the legal situation, I was exhausted. But of course, the whole talks of engagement and all of that, and like just like my soon-to-be ex-husband being there for me and just being this great source of support, it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, he's so sweet.
Here again, you keep opening the door and making it really, really easy for him. I mean, yes, I can say 80, 90% was his fault, but 10% was your fault as well, in a way. Well, and what I mean, like, your fault, it doesn't have to be like a bad thing, but just the room and the ways how you open the door, in a way, for him to just slide in, do things, and you're accepting it. So
Again, I'm kind of in a daze in 2023. I'm dealing with a whole legal battle, but I'm still excited because it feels like, oh my gosh, at the end of the day, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. We get engaged in August. Now, you know, once you get engaged, everybody's asking you, when is the wedding? When is the wedding? When is the wedding? So you have all this external pressure, and my family, my friends, everything. I'm a type A person, right? I didn't end up getting a planner for my wedding. I ended up planning it myself. So I'm completely caught up with planning my wedding. I'm still dealing with this legal battle. I have now moved to Florida. I still have my place in New York, but now I'm in Florida. Thankfully, now I know like 2 couples in Florida. So I do have a couple people there, but I'm now in a different state. I'm still dealing with this legal battle. I'm here planning a wedding. I'm also transitioning careers, right? Because when you go up against a firm in Wall Street, like, best of luck if you think you're going to have a career in Wall Street after that. But also that experience left such a bitter taste in my mouth that I decided that I didn't want to work on Wall Street anymore. So I'd made my mind up that I was done with the industry. Now, this legal battle, I'm not done with it until roughly February of 2024. And I also want to provide the context that I wanted to take this to litigation because the evidence was all there. The wrongdoing was there. And
I'm gonna
it would have
fast
been a
forward
case
some
that
of
would have
these.
bulked up for you. And I'm like, look good for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to look like that, like, you're the one who decided to bulk up like this, right? Like, you decided to do this to yourself. I never told you to do that. So you always want to pay attention when it comes to dating someone. If you find that they're like transforming themselves to be someone to match you a little bit too much, right? And it's not organic, it's not natural, it's not something that they ever were. That is something that you need to pay attention to. At the time, I just thought, you know what? He bulked up. He has this newfound passion for the gym. It is what it is. I didn't know that someone with narcissistic personality disorder, they are going to mirror their target like crazy. And he had to bulk up in such a way and transform himself because he had to be seen as worthy of being my partner. But once we got married, he's complaining about the way that he has to eat all this protein and eat all this food for me. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't do it. Like, it's
Yeah,
not a
okay, let's go
requirement
to
to
the
be
other
with me.
one.
You know, some semblance of fake accountability. And he says, you know, he's going to be working on himself. It's not going to happen again. I want to add this in because I think this is very important for people who might be in a work environment similar to Wall Street. Because I had worked on Wall Street for years, right? I had interned on Wall Street my junior year of college. I returned full time. A total of 5 years is what I spent on Wall Street.
I'm gonna fast
But
forward
you have to
that part.
understand that business, my influencer business, and he would always try to get me to accept like some low deals, some deals that didn't make any sense when I knew my value and I knew my worth. And I was able to negotiate deals at like 4 times whatever rate he was trying to get on my behalf. And I was like, bro, what are you even doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you inserting yourself in my business? And why are you trying to get your wife paid less? And then he would throw shade about deals that I didn't take. A couple months ago, he was like, you know, you're the one who's turning down deals for 15K. And I'm like, huh? What's that supposed to mean? I'm not like you. I don't just take money for money, right? I understand that there's value to the work that I put out there, and I provide value to brands. And at the end of the day, this is my business. Why are you inserting yourself in it? And I essentially had to be like, look, respectfully, I need you to step.
Well, you invited him in your business. I think that's the thing you should have said in the beginning, like, hey, when it comes to, if I do have questions, I will come to you. But you invited him into your business.
Step away from inserting yourself into my business and what I'm doing. And then he would try to gaslight me and be like, you just don't value my opinion. You don't value my opinion. No, boo, you're trying to control me. You're jealous of me because you can't stand the fact that I could make one video for a brand and it's more than what you've earned in the entire month from your job. And instead of being happy for your wife and supporting your wife, you're trying to sabotage her career. Another thing that I didn't pick up on as a narcissistic trait is, I remember one time, like, I was crying and he got extremely angry with me. Like, he was so angered by the fact that I was shedding a tear. He started to raise his voice and yell at me. And that was when I was like, oh no, we need to get in counseling because something is wrong with you, sir. Now, I didn't know what it was at the time, but the therapist clocked it immediately. She said to him in that first session, she was like, do you understand what it means to have empathy? Because it feels like you don't understand empathy. He doesn't have the ability.
Kudos to them. They went to counseling. I think that was a good thing on their part that they did. And he actually agreed to it.
To be empathetic. It's this fake empathy. I never really understood that that was what was happening. So if he sees me crying, it gets him so angry because he's incapable of putting himself in other people's shoes. Narcissists lack empathy. Also, after we got married, he would constantly make degrading comments about women. He was really frustrated with the fact that women had to do so little in comparison to men. So, for example, I remember him making a remark about the fact that my bridesmaids came into town before my wedding, like a couple days before, and they were able to hang out. And he was like, you know, my boys, you know, they had to come in like the day before. And he was like, you know, what do your bridesmaids even do? And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, like, why are you so mad that women don't have to do what men have to do necessarily? Like, why are you so upset that women and men have a different experience of life? Do you want to be a woman, sir? Because that's what it's giving. And another thing that really upset him that I found very strange was he didn't like that there were plus size models featured in Sports Illustrated. And I was trying to explain to him that, you know, representation matters. Women of all sizes need to be featured and people need to see bodies that look like them. But his whole argument was like, men can't do the same thing. Women need to be held to the same standard as men. He's revealing to me, once we're married, just how misogynistic he is, which was something he hid very, very, very well before our marriage.
No, he actually was showing you, but all those gestures that he was making, the little comments that he was making, but again, I'm not going to say it's all your fault, right? Like you said, now that you're learning all these things, but he actually was showing you those things, actually.
And every single day, the mask is slipping more and more and more. And I had a solo trip with Virgin Voyages the night before. He has a mental breakdown. He's telling me how unhappy he is with life, how unhappy he is with his job, how upset he is that he can't go on this trip with me and everything. And his whole goal was to make sure that I had a very unpleasant trip and that I was thinking about how unhappy he was the entire trip. That is something that narcissists do. They don't want you to have any fun or have any enjoyment without them. They hate that. In addition to the degrading comments he would make about women, he was always trying to change me into a housewife. I know I'm the meal prep queen. You gotta understand that when I brought meal preps to the internet, this was for the corporate girlies. There are a lot of business girlies, corporate girlies who follow me. When I worked on Wall Street, yes, I did meal prep, but now I don't have to. I've meal prepped for brands, and I've shown people how to meal prep. And he has been a natural beneficiary of my meal preps. And also, he really needed them because the dude wasn't eating healthy. He wasn't having vegetables, he wasn't having fruits. And so he really needed those. Apart from that, he would try to pressure me and shame me for not cooking every single day. Now, I'm the type of person I cook when I want. But if I don't feel like cooking, I'm not gonna cook.
Well, did you guys discuss that? Those are questions you should ask.
Because I don't need to. And when it comes to cleaning, I have always outsourced my cleaning. When I lived in New York, I outsourced my cleaning. Unless I genuinely want to clean my space, that is just what I do. But you know what it was when you signed up, right? And we talked about this. It never gave housewife. It was never that. Now, if you're wondering, well, why are you staying with this man while he's saying all these things? It's because there's constantly this gaslighting and this love bombing that's going on. Just constantly reminding me of things that he's done for me. That is just a small portion of the narcissistic abuse that I've experienced. And I said, hey, is there anything else you're lying to me about?
Wow.
I gave him the opportunity to be honest with me, because at the end of the day, I've been loyal, I've been faithful, I've honored our marriage. I meant my vows when I said them. So I gave him the opportunity to be honest with me, and he still couldn't do that. In fact, his response was, I'm so focused on trying to get you a Range Rover, because he knows that Range Rover is like one of my favorite cars ever. I'm like,
But at the end of it all, I hope her Instagram, go to TikTok and look at the rest of the thing. I think probably what to be learned from this, my 2 cents is, if somebody is already showing, or let's say you break up with someone and you know for sure you don't want to get back with them, but they say, well, let's just be friends, don't do it. Because again, they still have feelings and emotions for you. So for you to help yourself and also to help them, don't entertain friendship from them. And I think that's one of the things she kind of also contributed to it. She still entertained his friendship, his gestures, and things like that. And as time goes on, like she was saying, because he was good at his words and things that he was saying, so she got right back into it. And also, just because a guy does nice things, it doesn't mean husband material. Or look, just because let me say big nice things, right? It doesn't mean, oh, okay, they're not who they're showing me, because his actions was really lining up to all of these things. So I hope we get to learn from her story. Hopefully somebody out there don't make the same mistake. Pay attention to the little details, not the big details, but the little details somebody is doing. When even to the smallest things, when they don't respect a small boundary, like I say, don't call me, but they keep calling you, pay attention to that, because they are telling you, I don't care if you have boundaries, I'm gonna break them. Don't take it lightly, especially if it's something that is huge for you. So I hope we can all learn from her story. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe. I'm slowly trying to build my channel. So I hope this is something I'll keep on. I'll do reaction videos. So please like and subscribe. Thank you. Okay, bye.